Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, can you imagine a life where you earn your income from pranking people? Worse yet, you earn your income in life from actually terrorizing people? Well, there appears to be a new profession out there. It's called YouTube pranksters. These are people who intentionally go out, inflict emotional distress on others, terrify them, all in the name of a prank to get clicks and to presumably make a living. Now, I used to think that the most dangerous jobs in America would either be law enforcement officer or Alaska crab fisherman, but I got to tell you that this job, well, if you guys keep doing this, you're going to turn yourselves into, in fact, the most dangerous profession known to man. So today, let's spend a few minutes, let's get everybody educated about this, and let's talk about how being a YouTube prankster can get you shot. Okay, so here's what we're talking about. This recent phenomena, predominantly with young people who think, hey, listen, I'm going to become a YouTube prankster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm going to terrify people and I'm going to videotape it without their consent and I'm going to use it to get clicks and to make money. Now, I want you all to understand that there is a big difference between a prank. A prank is when a bunch of people are in on the joke, but not everybody, because there is always a victim to the prank, okay? So one person is always going to be left in the dark, at least one person. And let us also remember that in order for the prank to be effective, the pranksters must make it look as realistic as humanly possible. It's the only way a prank works, right? Now, if everybody's in on it, including the would-be victim, that's what we call a comedy sketch, okay? And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about pranks. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about people like Tanner Cook of Classified Goons, who back in April of this year got himself shot by Alan Colley at a shopping mall in Virginia for doing a prank in which he was basically shoving a phone in this guy's face all the time with a bunch of kind of weird statements on there trying to get a rise out of him. What it eventually got was it got Tanner Cook shot in the gut. Now, an interesting side note on this. The shooter here was charged with malicious wounding, or what many states would call felony assault. He was found not guilty by the jury of that, believing that he acted in self-defense. However, the jury did find him guilty of an unlawful discharge of a firearm. Do not ask me to make sense of that particular verdict. What else am I talking about? Well, let's go back to May of this year. You guys may have heard about Daniel Moran, Robert Milazzo, and George Prostos, who staged a fake robbery outside an ATM in Sydney, Australia, only to have bystanders jump in, put an absolute beatdown, ultimately breaking one of the pranksters' noses. How about in 2021, when 20-year-old Timothy Wilkes got himself killed when he and several other people approached a family outside the Urban Air Trampoline and Adventure Park in Nashville, Tennessee, and 23-year-old David Starnes Jr. shot him. No charges filed. Why is that? Well, because they were faking a robbery and they actually approached this family wielding kitchen knives. And shockingly, the family that was not in on the prank actually thought that their life might be in danger and defended themselves with lethal force. No charges filed, by the way. Or how about this guy, British TikToker Bakari Bronze Ogaro, better known as Mizzy. Now, Mizzy's a TikToker, which is one strike against him already, but he likes to prank people and has done things such as stealing a woman's dog, tampering with a railway's train controls, and just entering people's homes when they're at home and just rummaging through their house. And then finally, there's this little puke I found on Reddit who apparently likes to walk around a mall. Oh, as you can see here, actually bumping into women even. And then, of course, the minute somebody confronts him, well, then he has his bodyguard step in. So this brings us to the question, and this is a video that's actually catered for people on both sides, to the pranksters and the prankstees, okay? Can you, in fact, end up shooting one of these people? And the answer is you most certainly can, and the likelihood that it's going to be done lawfully is actually pretty good. Okay, let's go over the rules of self-defense just so you could all understand. Now, anytime we use force to defend ourselves or somebody else, the force we use will always be analyzed as 1, was it necessary? 2, 2, was it reasonable? And 3, was it proportional? And ultimately, when it comes to these YouTube pranksters, the reasonableness of the force is going to be the most critical inquiry. And what do I mean by that? Is a jury's going to be asked, hey, if you were in the defendant's shoes, you're the person who defended the other people, would you have reasonably believed that a real crime was occurring rather than a prank? And in every one of these instances, there has never ever been any question as to the reasonableness of the people who were being pranked into believing it was real. After all, that is exactly how a prank is designed to work. Okay, so if we know all the force we use has to be necessary, reasonable, and proportional, let's also remember that we don't get to use lethal force usually unless we are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. 2, somebody else in our presence is in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. 3, we have a felony being committed upon our person. Or 4, we have a felony being committed inside our home. So when you take a look at the pranks that many of these pranksters are committing, they are literally trying to mimic violent crimes against other people. And so therefore, it is very plausible that a person would reasonably believe that they were in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. In the case of the fake ATM robbery in Australia, it was bystanders who believed somebody else in their presence was in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. To Mizzy there in England, I dare you to start walking into people's homes. Come on over to the United States and do it in Louisiana, do it in Florida, do it in Texas. That would be residential burglary. That is a felony being committed inside your home, and in many jurisdictions would justify the use of lethal force. Then let's also remember the first aggressor standard, because under the first aggressor standard, if you are in fact the person who initiates or provokes the altercation, you cannot in any way, shape, or form ever claim self-defense. So for all of these pranksters here, you are in fact the initial aggressors. Yeah, maybe your intent wasn't to be an aggressor, it was just to be a prankster. But it is not so much about what you have done as much as what you have done to create the fear in the other person. And for this little puke right here walking down the mall, sticking his arms out with his air lats, yeah, great, you almost hit a woman, and then when this guy confronts you, you have your big old thug bodyguard step in for you. Well, here's the problem. He's acting as an accomplice with you. You are the first aggressor because, candidly, that was not an accidental bump into. You intentionally bumped into the person. That is an offensive touching. That is an assault. You are the first aggressor. Your bodyguard was there to help you accomplish what you were doing. Therefore, he's acting as an accomplice. And if he steps in to try to defend you, force or violence against him would be lawfully justified. So the bottom line is that if you are the victim of one of these pranks, will you, in all likelihood, have the lawful ability to use force to defend yourself? You most certainly will, and in many instances, these pranksters may put themselves in a position where you have the lawful authority to use lethal force. Now, to the pranksters out there, those of you who actually might watch this video, let me give you a piece of advice, which is if you want to do something really, really dangerous and try to make money, might I suggest Alaska crab fishing? You have a much better chance of making at least a livable income doing that than you ever will being a jackass on YouTube. Listen, you may have more questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights. Now, if you do, you should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information's right down there in the description box. Now, in the meantime, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.